what's up, guys? This is Chris Shepard.
Derek Cajun.
And you're here with LS Live every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We are taking live calls and we're answering your questions on topics for men. This is a completely uncensored show for guys. And today's live stream, we're going to be talking about attraction, male-female attraction. I'm going to be going into the theory of attraction and what I teach guys basically about how to create attraction with women. And we're just going to be talking about it at an intellectual kind of level, you know? Because I think a lot of guys have ideas about attraction, how it works. Everybody has opinions about what women like, but nobody really knows, right? Everybody has different opinions.
People have been theorizing about it for thousands of years, since the dawn of mankind, essentially. So
literally, Plato wrote a book on this.
Oh yeah, there you
go. And at the end of the day, he's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you have Sigmund Freud also once said, he's like, what do women want? That is the biggest question I have not been able to answer in my 30 years of being inventing psychology. We also have a guest. We've got JC coming visiting here from Australia, and he's actually in a cyclone right now.
Yeah, in the middle of it, getting spun around.
But he's been able to make it out to talk to us. JC, what's up, man?
Hey guys, how are ya?
Good.
Is it like seriously a cyclone out there? Like, what's going on?
It's a bit of a gust of wind. Light winds, but yeah, houses are going.
Houses are going. Light winds.
A cyclone is, I mean, that's what Americans call a hurricane.
It's a hurricane, yeah.
Yeah. So just people don't think it's actually like a tornado that he's in the middle of.
Yeah, it's essentially a hurricane.
Is the cyclone coming or going?
It's kind of come, and now it's moving around and just hovering.
Just
are you in like the eye of you're in the eye of it now, so you're in the safe zone?
I'm nowhere near it. Nowhere near it, thankfully. So I plan to keep it that way.
That's good.
Awesome. So we got JC here, one of our instructors from Australia.
Yeah, been around for a while. He's going to give us a nice, unique Australian perspective on attraction, which is actually the same. But it's still good to have his glorious Australian accent to complement our glorious Canadian accents.
Exactly.
I don't know if we even have Canadian accents.
Thank you very much for that, Derek. It makes me feel good.
It was actually an insult.
Makes me feel attracted to you guys.
See? This is
Everybody
already working. We're already doing it.
It's working already.
Yeah. This is perfect. So I guess where should we start? This is funny because this is a topic we probably should have did on the very first episode.
Yeah,
everyone wants to know about attraction. We got a lot of comments asking about this, like, hey, how do you even just attract a woman? There's a lot to it. We're by no means going to be able to even scratch the surface in the hour or so we're going to talk about it. But hopefully you guys will get a couple, maybe 4, 5, 6 big, mind-blowing things you can learn from this. So that's what we'll get to. But where should we start? What's the first thing?
Okay, I think one good thing to start with would be to think about what most people think women find attractive. Because I think, I remember when I was young, I was trying to figure this stuff out. I would ask women, and they would tell me things. But the stuff that they told me wasn't very useful to me. So they'd say things like, oh, you should dress nice. Oh, you should take her out for dinner, do something romantic. There was all this stuff, and I did it, but it totally didn't work. And then it was only when I started getting advice from other guys who actually knew what they were talking about that all of it sort of started to make sense. Because, when you ask women for this advice, they're telling you stuff that's it's true, but it's not useful because they don't really see what's going on behind the scenes.
You have the best analogy for this.
I do have the best analogy.
Can you share that? Because I think that's something that needs to be shared.
I tell guys, getting dating advice from women is like asking a restaurant critic for cooking advice.
Yes.
So a restaurant critic might know a ton about steaks. They might have eaten at every steak restaurant in town, and they can tell you exactly how well you've done. But what a restaurant critic will never learn, no matter how many restaurants he eats at, is how you actually cook a steak. He's never going to know what temperature you put it on the grill for, or how long you put it on the grill. And that's exactly the stuff that a guy needs to know. So women do the same thing. They'll say things like, oh, you should be romantic, you should be confident but not too confident, don't be arrogant. And that's all saying stuff like, oh, don't overcook the steak, don't undercook the steak.
Not too salty.
No, don't make it too salty, not too fatty. But what you don't realize, what you never learn is okay, what temperature for how long? And only the guys in the kitchen can tell you that. It's only the guys who can make the good steak that can give you those kinds of answers. So that's what this class is going to be about the answer, how to make the steak.
There's few perfect analogies in this world, but I think that's actually one of them because it's it's exactly
and a lot of guys think like women are misleading them or they get kind of a bad attitude about it. That's usually not the case. It's just they don't have the right perspective. So then you ask guys like, what do women find attractive? And the guys will be like, oh, money. You gotta have nice fancy clothes. You gotta be confident or funny or intelligent. What are some other stuff that if you ask your average guy, they would say this is what women find attractive?
So a lot of time I get the feedback guys think it is about money, cars, looks, their status or a class system in society. But that's usually the feedback I get from most
money, looks, and status.
When I talk to them about attraction.
Yeah, and women will say, oh, you got to do romantic things. I like a guy with a good heart. Sure, these things are a little bit important, but how in shape you are doesn't matter that much. They'll often say stuff like that. And here's the thing: they're all kind of true, right? They're all kind of true. Like I'll tell you what, having a lot of looks and status and money does not hurt you, except if you're a guy. Except I get guys sometimes who have huge status, but they over rely on it. They act like, hey, check out my fancy new car, and they try too hard showing this stuff off.
It becomes a weakness.
And women, it becomes a weakness, and women despise that, or they can only get gold diggers or something like that. And so I realized after a while that all the things that women found attractive in men kind of broke down to three different things. There's sort of three elements to it, and I realized that for women, basically I came up with this theory of attraction that is one of the things that I teach in all my classes, and going to share it right now. And it sounds really simple, but when you think about it, it changes everything. It's just one sentence long, but it's a really complex statement that a lot of guys spend a long time figuring out. But this is what attraction is in women, okay? It is the feeling of being desired by a powerful man that she can trust. And if you give her that feeling, she will feel attraction. So the feeling of being desired by a powerful man that she can trust. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's
totally.
That's like the plot of Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey. Like, they're all based around.
Yeah, like if you go back and you watch every romance, every successful romance novel, you'll see that you'll see the writers creating that, and whether they're doing it consciously or unconsciously. And like Twilight,
it's literal,
or 50 Shades of Grey is like. Is like, and it's super obvious in those dramas, but you can see it even in like, you got Emily Bronte or like,
Wuthering Heights and stuff.
Wuthering Heights and like classic literature, still exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So, if attraction is the feeling of being desired by a powerful man that she can trust, what are the three things you got to work on? One, you got to be a powerful man first. You got to communicate a little bit of that inner power. And mostly that's confidence. I mean, status and money has a lot to do with it. But if you don't have the confidence, all the status and the money in the world isn't going to do anything for you. And it's that inner power, mostly, that women find attractive. But then once you have that, then you have to build trust, because women don't if you ruin trust, if you mess it up or you creep a woman out, let's say early on in your interaction with her, that's going to kill things. That's going to really, really destroy attraction. And then you have, to communicate desire, which is the last thing. Which most guys, especially when they kind of get into game or studying dating, that's the last thing that most guys get, is how to communicate that desire without looking weak or without being weird or needy or something like that. And if you can do all three of those things, you're going to be able to get attraction. That's the essence of it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
I wanted to ask JC, since you being in Australia and you've gotten to travel around quite a bit, and I know you were in Vegas with us last year and whatnot, and I've been to Australia. Do you think there's a difference around the world? This kind of goes with what Chris just said in the sense that it's universal. But do you notice a difference in the way that attraction works in different places? Or do you think that it's something that's, you can attract a girl in Australia, you can attract a girl in the US or in Canada or in Europe, wherever?
So without going into too much detail, in Australia, it's a lot about state-based attraction. So, I mean, here it's guys have a lot of energy. We're a sporting culture. We don't really have an identity yet. We're still forming that. We've only been around for 200 or so years. So, I mean, it's very state-based. It's very, if you go out here as you guys have and see the type of environment, it runs off a lot of high energy, as does place like Vegas or any area that's like a nightclub or bar venue. But here predominantly, it's definitely a lot of guys have, they use a lot of energy in a situation to build attraction with, even if it only lasts for short periods of time. Whereas in Europe, I've found certain parts of Europe, especially in somewhere like, say, Russia or you got Italy, Greece, the areas like that, there's a lot more intrigue-based style of attraction. It's a lot more deep conversation and deep kind of concepts people talk about.
Yeah. I was just thinking too, because if you think of Chris's model, that has like the power and then the desire and then the trust. It seems like those three things in some places can be, some of them might be higher than others, right? So you have some places, let's say maybe Australia, where you have power and desire is more, works better than, and maybe trust it's obviously still there, maybe less on the scale. Other places, trust is way more important, whereas power and desire may not be. Things like...
It's very cultural how people interpret this stuff, because you have for example, the big thing I noticed in Australia is that basically jockey behavior is totally standard, and you've got to play that. You've got to compete with these kinds of guys.
It's like a macho-ness
who have this macho kind of thing going on. Whereas if you go to other countries and you do the kind of stuff that Australians do, people are going to think that you're going to be violating trust. It's going to be socially inappropriate. It's going to be seen as low class, let's say, in a lot of these places, and you might not have so much luck. Although being bold is usually generally a good strategy. But in Australia, you have to do that.
Yeah,
you don't have conversations go nowhere.
Yeah, it comes down to social norms and I suppose a bit into customs and traditions. Within that society or within that ecosystem, so to speak. The power side of things, definitely here. Because guys are running masculinity. They're very masculine. They've had to be. It's the type of environment or the type of society they're operating in. So they're very, masculine orientated with their type of interactions they're running with girls, which again works great here, and a portion of that works really well in other areas in other parts of the world. But you have to have the trifecta going. You have to have those other components to make everything work in unison. Otherwise, you will fall down in areas. That's why state-based attraction works really well, or that power-based attraction works really well straight away. But you have to have more depth to the character. You have to be able to convey trust.
So hold on.
Convey desire.
Do you think...
And the other parts of that trifecta. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, do you think that guy in Australia that got attacked by the croc was conveying those three elements when he got that girl? I don't know if our viewers have heard about this story.
I think trust, definitely.
Yeah. If he's willing to jump into a croc-infested water for a girl...
If you jump into crocodile... This is an important question we need to ask our Australian friend. If you jump into crocodile-infested waters to impress a woman... How is that going to create attraction?
Yeah,
that's an important question.
Power. He beat the croc. He poked it in the eye.
I think it worked because he got the number. So
did
he get her number?
No, he didn't just get her number. He's dating her now. That was
really.
Yeah, I looked into it.
Okay. This is in your hometown. Some guy jumps in.
I think it's in Cairns or something. But it was. If people watching don't realize what's going on, there was a guy in Northern Australia, this bogany guy, basically white trash Australian. There was a tourist going through that he was trying to attract, and an English tourist, and in order to impress her, he jumped into croc-infested waters to prove that crocodiles don't attack Australians. I don't know why that was his goal. And then immediately got attacked by a crocodile, and got pulled underwater, and he poked the croc in the eye, and then it let go, and he swam up, and his arm was all mangled, and he had to go to the hospital, but he got the girl. So, yeah, and no regrets. He said there's no regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets. Reporters were asking.
Yeah.
No regrets.
I think that was true love.
Yeah, definitely.
That was an example of what a Casanova type individual would do for a girl from the United Kingdom.
I mean,
there you go.
Yeah, that's basically like a fairy tale in Australia, I assume. That's how most guys do it, right?
That's pretty much as good as it gets. I mean, I've seen guys jumping on top of great whites, which, but that's more of a...
That's a real thing, right? That's a YouTube video.
Yeah, like he's not even joking. It's like an actual...
Yeah, look it up. It's on YouTube.
There's a YouTube video of a guy jumping off of a boat onto a great white shark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's Australian.
Yeah. He's Australian.
Does he get eaten? What happens? I haven't seen this video.
No, he jumps onto it and then swims back to the boat and climbs up.
And
the shark gets fried. The shark gets very scared, I think. But it's huge. It's as big as the boat.
Yeah.
It's a massive shark.
That's pretty...
Wow. So these are some of the differences you see in culture.
So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about...
Just slightly.
Yeah.
So if we were going to apply the theory of attraction and stuff like that, I mean, here's the thing. It is actually, across various animal species, you find that men engage in risky behavior to show off their qualities, their power to females, and the women respond to this. Now, I think, as far as I know, they only respond to it when the guy doesn't get eaten. I mean, this one guy who he only got partially eaten by the crocodile, so maybe it's a halfway thing. But certainly, doing risky stuff and succeeding is attractive, and it's masculine. It's something that you should strive to do in your life is to take risks, not really stupid risks, like just jumping on the back of a shark for no good reason, but certainly when it comes to let's say things where there's actually a payoff in the end, or things where there's actually a reason to take that risk, you know, as a guy you have to do it, and more importantly, if you're scared of those risks, right? If you're scared of a risk that's necessary, that is something that will really interfere with your ability to create attraction with women. Because this is the other side of the theory of attraction is you got to give her the feeling of being desired by a powerful man that she can trust. If you screw up any of those three elements, if you don't communicate desire, if you violate the trust, if you show weakness or neediness, then that destroys attraction, right?
Yeah, an example of a better way to convey that type of attraction would be more so. I have friends in my social circle. They take girls on dates, skydiving as a first date. So it's like, okay, going on a date, skydiving, 14,000 feet, and that pretty much sums that up in one date. You can
gets them to
all
be
that,
all
that kind of the trifecta going on.
Absolutely. Oh, because one of the things with skydiving is there's got to be a whole bunch of trust there as well. Isn't there? Because you're putting your life in the other person's hands. So that's interesting. You guys get girls. You have friends who get girls to come out skydiving on a first date.
That's impressive.
First date, yeah.
That's
their go-to. Their go-to first date is 14,000 feet.
I don't think I would get girls to show up for that date. I don't know.
Well,
I mean, I haven't asked.
Specific type of girl, I think, that's gonna enjoy that date.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
They date the girls that are that have similar interests usually, but yeah, it works well. They seem to.
So these are girls that they probably meet at the flight school. They're at the jump points and stuff. Yeah. That makes more sense if that's the case.
No, that's awesome stuff. And doing stuff that's risky, doing stuff that's exciting, obviously, is like a key to making these things happen. And taking them through that trust. I think the trust side of things is also very, very important. Like one thing, if you screw that up, or if you don't give her any reason to trust you, I think it can prevent creating a connection there.
Well, let's switch things up a bit here.
Okay.
So we got that. Now there may be guys watching that are like, all right, I get it. You know, desire, trust, powerful man, all that stuff. Great. But what if I am an ugly motherfucker?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about looks and how looks matter into attraction? What do you guys think?
With looks, it's probably about the first 5 seconds. I mean, it's the approach. If you're gonna, I have friends. They're like extremely good looking, very good looking guys. They get approached all the time. You know, it happens. It's just a default setting. The situation where you are not aesthetically good looking, it counts for about first 5 seconds. If you don't start talking, you don't have good chat after that, you can't convey attraction through a physical or verbal means off the get-go, then it's not going to work for you, whether you're not good looking or semi good looking or even really good looking. You got to have more than just good looks.
And just to be clear here, when I talk about looks, and I think you guys probably think the same, there's things that are looks and there's things that people think are looks are not looks. For instance, like some guys might say, oh well, I have bad looks because I don't dress fashionably, I'm 400 pounds and I have a bad haircut. That's not looks. Those are choices. And choices you can change. You can decide to get into good shape. You can decide to look at your fashion and change your clothes. You can get a good haircut. Looks, we're talking about things that you can't change, right? Mm-hmm. These are things you're genetically given and have no sort of chance to change. So when it comes to looks, those are things that I don't think that matter too much. Choices do matter. If you're 400 pounds, you don't respect your body, you can't really expect a woman, unless she moves in the same predicament, to really respect you.
Yeah.
You have an obligation to dress well and to take care of yourself. And women will punish you really bad if you dress poorly, because it destroys the power, right? You can't. People who are influential, people who do things, who are on top of themselves, who have themselves sorted out. Those people take care of their looks. Yeah. They dress properly.
It reflects on you.
It reflects on your character.
Your crooked nose and your big head and your shifty shoulders don't reflect on you because you had no choice in that matter. But the other bits do. So
if you can't respect yourself, how can you expect her to respect you?
Yeah,
exactly. It works both ways. I mean, if you don't take care of yourself, how can you expect anyone to look at you in a respectful way? So.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said, as far as looks go, with women, if you're a guy, you're attracted to a woman, it's normally about 80% looks, 20% personality as a base. Some guys might value personality more, some might not at all, but about 80% looks. So, if she's really hot, you're 80% of the way there from, let's say, wanting to continue with her. You can get physical. With women, it's about the opposite, I would say, in the sense that it's about 20% looks and 80% personality. Mm-hmm. And this is easy to say, but it actually makes sense if you ask a woman this, because they'll prove it to you. And all you got to do, you can ask your guy friends, and this should be easy if you guys are guys watching, you say, you see a hot woman in the bar, and she's like exactly your type. How long before you decide whether or not you'd sleep with her? And most guys will say instantly, right? Mm-hmm. As soon as I see her, I know if I'm going to sleep with her or not. You ask a woman that, and that's a different question if she sees a guy that's really good looking, because if you say, the woman says, oh, well, he's really good looking, I probably would. All right, what if you go up to him and he has a really bad personality? Like, he's just really weird and kind of creepy. Every single woman will say, oh, never mind that, right? Well, guys, though, not really. If guys, you ask guys, okay, what if you go and talk to this really hot girl, but she's kind of annoying? I'm okay. All right, what if she's like, just like really creepy? Well, does she still want to sleep with me? Yes. Oh, yeah, I'm good. Right? So 20% is a huge advantage. I think that saying that looks don't matter is kind of dumb, because they obviously do. And any person that can get a 20% advantage on somebody else is a massive advantage. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't make or break you at all.
Exactly. And there's a ton of guys. I mean, ton of guys who are very good looking who have no game whatsoever. Yeah. And have the worst luck. And I know tons of guys who are well below average. Who still get plenty of women. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're proof.
Yeah, JC's like the ugliest motherfucker I've seen. So obviously. Good. So I know that's a question that always comes up. So guys, you're watching, you're ugly. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
We've got lots of guys at LoveSystems who are uglier than you. We're the good-looking guys on the crew, basically.
Yeah. It's a bunch of circus freaks, pretty much. So. But control the controllables is what we always say. So
Exactly.
control your weight, control your fitness, control your haircut, control your fashion, your clothes, and your attitude. And as you can get all those things going, you're operating at that full 80%. You can get pretty much any girl if you hit that full 80% personality. And that's all you need.
Yeah. Yeah, be accountable. Control the controllables. There's, every 1% or 0.1% makes a difference. So you work on yourself, you will create a better self.
If you work on yourself, you will create a better self. That's a good saying.
I like
good
that.
saying.
That's a good saying. It's a good takeaway. Yeah. All right, what's the next topic we want to talk about? Why don't we talk about, I don't know if you have a list here, but I was thinking of talking about how do you actually go about, without getting too technical, how do you go about meeting a woman and creating that attraction initially? So how does it play out in the first few moments?
Okay.
I think is a good topic we can talk about.
Absolutely.
So this is something we go over in great detail in when you teach or when you take our courses that we teach or you take our products and whatever. But in general terms, I mean, actually, JC, why don't you give me your answer on this, because I'm curious to hear your ansser.
The question is, how do you meet a woman?
Yeah, so in simple terms,
how do you get that first spark of attraction when you first meet her?
Those first few minutes, how do you, if you have a guy right now sitting in front of you that's like, how do I get a girl attracted to me in those first few minutes, and you got, a minute or two to explain enough to him that's going to help him, what would you tell him?
I start with distance. Close the distance with your eyes.
Okay.
Good.
It's all about eye contact. It's about your proximity and about your eye contact. It starts from the moment you see her and she sees you, and working on that eye contact and creating that intense intent. Like it's kind of like an intense look without being creepy. It's you see her, she sees you. You connect. You start that connection from there. That's where it begins, and from that point, it builds. It's like a ball of energy, and you're creating. So the closer the proximity gets, physically, as well as say verbally, and that feeling of emotional pull, that the bigger the ball of energy is created. That's the best way I like to explain it to my students. So as it starts with the eye contact, and then as you close the gap, it's obviously you're using verbal tonality, and obviously starting as you introduce yourself.
So there's a lot of opportunities in those first few minutes to create that spark, that attraction right away. I agree. I think it does start with the eyes. I think too many guys, have this over-reliance on, I got to be this chatty Cathy right when I get up there, and I gotta throw all these routines or all these things to dazzle her with.
Gotta say the right thing.
I gotta say the right thing, which in the first few minutes, I mean, it's certainly there's situations where that could help, but for the most part, that's not really what they're looking for. And there's lots of
so yeah. The thing I say to guys, first thing is you got to communicate that power, and that's why what you're saying, eye contact and proximity, is really important. Like you've got to look like you're a confident enough guy that if you walk over and talk to her, you look her in the eyes and you say what's on your mind. It doesn't have to be anything brilliant or terribly creative. It has to be. I tell guys, you can't say, "Hey, what's up?" That's the one line that I prohibit people from using, because that's what every single dude says, and really it's just saying, I don't know what to say.
Unless she's holding a sign that says up.
Yes.
Then you can say that.
Okay. Or it's on your shirt. You've just got it written on.
Yes.
Stop.
Yeah.
I think with that initial first interaction, the reason why what's up or sup or hey, it doesn't carry as much weight as something that has something she can bite onto that's interesting. That is you're able to convey interest.
Yeah.
You're communicating something.
And she's able to. That's going to buy you 30 seconds of time.
Exactly.
It's going to give you that initial 30 seconds that then you can build and convey, yourself to her, so she can pick up on that, and then from that moment, that kind of connection forms. That is attraction essentially. From the start.
And this is the thing when it comes to so the first thing that gets that interest, that gets you that 30 seconds, is giving off just a little bit of power, just having a little bit of confidence when you're walking in there. And when you say, hey, what's up, you are you can't say that. You cannot say, hey, what's up in a powerful, dominant way. Imagine Clint Eastwood walking into a room, looking around and going, "Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
What's up?" You can't do that because confident people say things. "Hey, what's up?" is not saying anything.
He
It's
probably
like,
could
"Please
do
speak
it.
to me."
He probably could do it. But
It's you could just say, if he just says like, "You guys look tired." Now it's like, now he's saying something like, whoa, that's intense. Like, but hey, what's up? It doesn't work. And so that's the only, "Hey, how you doing?" No. All right.
It doesn't say anything.
That's just saying, "I want to talk to you." So, and that's the thing. When you guys are often very concerned about what they say, it doesn't have to be brilliant. We give guys some lines sometimes, but like, you guys look like fun. "What's up? I'm Chris. I haven't met you yet." That's fine. That's saying something. It's a million times better than, "Hey, what's up?"
Here's an analogy I've been using recently that it's kind of a complicated one, but I think it's really funny and it describes it good. So let's say having a conversation with someone or getting attraction from someone, it's kind of like playing basketball, right? So let's say you got to go and play one-on-one against Michael Jordan, but you get to pick your partner, right? Now you have all these people coming up, and you want to find the best partner who's the best at basketball, right? So what do? So some guy comes up and he's like, "Hey," throws the ball to you, and is like, "I want to be your partner." You're going to be like, "No, get the fuck out of here. That didn't do anything, right? You just passed the ball right to me." If you have someone else that comes up and is just basically like doing all this Harlem Globetrotter shit, like doing boop, 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 but they're like overdoing it and stuff, you're going to be like, "All right, this guy's trying too hard." But the dude that just comes up and just like stares you in the eye and just fucking like spins the ball nonchalantly on his finger and it's just like, "Sup?" And you're like, "All right, I want to play with that guy," right? And that's kind of what having a conversation is. You don't want to, and when Chris says, "Hey, what's up?" that's just passing the ball to someone, right? You're not even doing anything with it. You're just saying, "Hey, I want to talk to you." But when you can do something, and the guys that use all this game and try too hard, those are the guys that are doing all this fancy moves and shit. That's not so great either. But it's the guy who could just spin the ball and hold eye contact with them, isn't trying too hard, but is showing enough that he has a skill set. That's the best way to do it.
And then you look and Michael Jordan's like, "Fuck that guy.
What have I gotten into?" Yeah. So, and those are the guys you want to pick as your partner. So that's what women are looking for. They're looking for that really good ball player that doesn't need to flaunt it so much.
It comes out. You're right. It comes out in the body language and the what we call the thin slice that you give off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's assumed. It's assumed rather than displayed.
Yes, that's a good point.
That's the best way that I describe it.
Yeah, it's a mutual understanding of each other's. I guess not only abilities, but more like attraction to each other. And I think, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, women are the masters of subcomps. So it's like what you think you're doing is like you're probably overdoing. Mm-hmm. So you think, well, that
was subtle.
I'm doing enough, but you probably wind it back another.
Hope I wasn't too subtle there.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
just slightly.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, they've basically been, evolutionarily predisposed to be able to understand that stuff. And that's a whole other conversation. But the idea that guys think they can get things under the radar that way and be subtle about it, like it's blatant to a woman. And so all their little insecurities that they're trying to hide with being over cocky and being over aggressive, and that's just really forcing it down their throat that they're really insecure. And I mean, that's something that a lot of guys don't realize. They think playing cocky and playing, that role makes them seem more confident, but it actually does the opposite.
Okay, let's talk about diagnosing problems with attraction. All right, what are the things that guys do that kill attraction?
Don't calibrate.
Okay, so what do you mean by don't calibrate?
So the reason guys run into problems with attraction is they emotionally overreach in situations where you don't need to emotionally reach out.
Okay.
So they go into an interaction kind of trying to convey too much rather than to convey too little. It's kind of what we were talking about just before.
Yeah, they overdo it.
Trying to convey too little. That's interesting.
And speed. Like a lot of times I call it flash game. Guys are coming out, they see it, like a lot of stuff on YouTube lately is people putting it up there is flash game. Mm-hmm. Guys being very flashy with the behavior and what they're doing. It looks great on camera, but in real time, it's not. It's just a facade. They're overreaching with that, and they're not what the best game or the best way I've seen to build attraction is through slow, steady, progressive kind of connection and engagement. What it looks like is just two people talking naturally, and then that relationship or connection builds from that point on. It just looks like a natural conversation. It's just naturally progresses.
And that's the thing that I've noticed with guys who are really, really good at this stuff. Like you got like Andy Venture or Andrew Sterling or some of these guys. They're just like you're out with them, and they're just talking to some girl. It doesn't look like anything's going on. It's just a regular like conversation, and then like 45 minutes later, it's just whoop, they're leaving the club, and you're like, what the hell did that guy do? And the thing is, I think you're very right. It's like they're underreacting. They're doing less than they need to do. They're not trying too hard. They're doing a really excellent job without looking like they're trying at all. And that's kind of the secret. And again, that's where the real power and the real trust comes in. Because when people are trying to show off, you don't trust them, right? And when people are trying to show off, you know, okay, this guy's trying to show off. This is as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Whereas if somebody doesn't look like they're trying to get off, you often think to yourself, okay, what else does this guy have going for him? He's doing such a good job and he's not even trying. What happens if he tries?
Yeah, exactly. The best analogy I've ever heard, one of the other instructors actually told me this: the best game is no game at all.
I mean,
it's not really like that. It's you work on yourself, you develop your skills so that all this stuff kind of comes naturally, and then you don't have it anymore.
That only makes sense. You
can't just start with the not doing anything at all.
It's obviously that's at the end of the circle. You've got to come full circle.
That's the thing. Yeah.
In relation to what we're talking about specifically right here.
Yeah.
It's best to happen as naturally as possible within a certain environment.
Okay. Yeah. I have a question. Let's say you're a guy, and you're shy. You don't have an easy time making strong eye contact with women. You don't have an easy time starting that conversation or showing off that kind of like dominant masculine side of yourself. What do you do?
If you're a shy guy and you want to show off the more masculine side, well,
let's say I'm a guy. I go to a bar. I see a girl I like. I walk over. I say, "Hey, you look like fun. What's your name?" She goes, "Who are you?" And I'm like, I feel bad. Hey, pardon me. Excuse me. Are you guys free? Sorry, I just wanted to ask a question. That's how I approach women. What am I doing wrong?
You haven't done a boot camp yet.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Sign up. Do a boot camp.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of guys have this, right? A lot of guys have this. They don't know how to assert themselves. They're scared of expressing their power, right? They're worried about stepping on other people's toes, and so they don't feel like they can walk up and talk to a woman that they're interested in talking to. They don't feel like they can make a move when they want to make a move, or keep that conversation going, or change the subject. Like you get guys who are like, oh well, we kept on talking about our cats for 45 minutes, and it was boring as hell. Like, why didn't you tell her? Why didn't you change the subject? And it's because they're not assertive enough. They're not in touch with their masculinity enough. They're not in touch with their inner power enough to tell people when they're being bored shitless by this conversation. And women won't do that for you, right? She's not going to change the conversation for you. She'll blame you for it.
So with that situation, they haven't had as much exposure as what's needed to pick up on those subtle cues or to build that level of confidence and masculinity. They haven't been in the space long enough to build it, so it's a foreign feeling. It's foreign territory, and they're kind of like fumbling their way through. So they're trying to it's like a blind person looking for something on the ground, and they're moving through that interaction, not knowing where to go next. So I would say to build that understanding, you need to expose yourself more. You need to build a better level of a situational awareness within that environment that you're trying to enter into, and a better amount of emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How that's done is through exposure. Hang out with guys that are more masculine.
Okay.
Go to the gym. And do a boot camp.
Make a plan. Make a promise to yourself to tell the truth all the time. What you're thinking.
Yeah, that can.
There's a lot of guys that hold that back. I mean, as long as you're...
Yes and no. I mean, I'm not advocating lying, but I mean, you can be overly honest or too honest. It's like...
But a lot of guys, I mean, I think there's a lot of guys who hold stuff in. Do you like this?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't like it, but he says, oh, yeah, it's okay. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Sometimes you get worn down by life. A lot of guys get pushed around, and they get used to not asserting themselves, and they have difficulty breaking out of that habit.
Yeah.
And that's one of the key skills that you have to do you have to be able to do it to get attraction, right? You have to be able to stand up for yourself before women are going to treat you seriously as a man. And if you don't do that, if you're a guy who habitually tries to take the easy route or avoid conflict, for example, even when it's necessary, then you're going to always suffer in your dating life until you fix that.
So I would say there's two things going on here. Whenever a situation that comes up like this, the one you described, the guy wants to talk to a girl but he's too shy, whatever, but he says it, and speaking honestly, there's what's being spoken and there's what's being said, and what's being communicated. Totally. And the issue here, I don't think is necessarily what's being spoken. And this is something that guys tend to over rely on. Oh, if I have the right thing to say, then it'll work out fine. It's not really about that, though, and we kind of covered that earlier. It's more about what's actually being said, not what's being spoken. And the problem here that you described would be an issue of what's being said. So the issue is, well, the guy just wants to go up and say, hey, you guys look really cool, I want to say hi. That's fine. What's being said, though, if he has that tone and he's got that sort of, ooh, I'm nervous, is that I don't do this very often or ever. I'm very nervous right now. And in that situation, it might work out. A girl might be like, oh, wow, that's really cute that he had the confidence to do it. I feel sorry for him. Maybe over time she develops feelings for him. Maybe. But the real root problem here, I don't think, is not necessarily that he needs more things to say. I think he needs to work with the emotion that controlled what was being spoken there. The emotion being, I'm insecure. I don't have a lot of experience doing this, which is what JC commented on, you know. Get out there, get exposure therapy. Put yourself in the situation enough times that you're confident enough to get through it. Mm-hmm. And so I think we're all saying the same thing, which is, if you're having those situations, it's not a simple fix. It's not something that's one issue. It's a lot of things kind of working together there that's creating that scenario for you. And you need to know which ones are actually contributing to making it really bad and start knocking them off one by one and fixing them. And there's a number of ways to do that. So
okay, so I have another question. How about the friend zone? Let's say a guy gets. Let's say you got a guy. Have a guy who keeps on falling in the friend zone. He's got these women who he has connection with. They talk. They laugh. She laughs at his jokes. Everything's going really, really good. But at the end of the day, she's like, yeah, you know what? I just see you as more of a friend. I'm not really that attracted to you. What's gone wrong there? Right?
He's not. From that situation, he's not conveying. He's falling down in certain areas. I'd say masculinity and sexualization, definitely. Those two areas he's falling down, and not being able to be dominant enough in his frame or how he holds himself or carries himself to display attraction for her in the right way. Mm-hmm. So she's friend zoning him because he doesn't have the characteristics she deems as attractive enough to go with.
Yeah, I agree with you. My comment on that, I get mad when people talk about the friend zone, and the reason why is because it's always the guy's fault, and I think that should be obvious. It's the guy's fault he's in the friend zone. And a lot of guys, there's two different ways guys come at this. They'll say, sometimes guys are they know about it, and they're kind of like, oh yeah, you know, I did make a move, I'm put in the friend zone, and it's kind of like, oh, don't worry about it, here, let's go, I'll teach you what to do next time, this won't happen again. Those are fine. The other guys are the problem, and those are the guys that are like, man, fucking bitch, put me in the friend zone. And this idea that their little scheme in order to be friends with her is a way to turn that into a relationship, and then when it doesn't work, they get mad at the girl for that, is not only bad game, but it's something that even goes way beyond that. Yeah. It's bad psychology. It's a bad way to look at the world. Yeah. So
I'll add. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Do you have something you want to add to that?
Go on there.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, with that, it is typically the type of guys that I see in that position have a large group of female friends. They're like, so to speak, it's very like gamey terminology, but they're like an orbiter type of guy. They're trying to fly under the radar to get the approval of the girls, but they don't do it in a way that's masculine. It doesn't come through a masculine filter. It comes through a supplicating filter.
A needy filter, yeah.
A very like, I don't wanna hurt women. You know, I'm all about, you know, befriending them.
See, that's the
and
issue.
then flying under that friend zone.
Yeah.
That white knight shit.
Into a relationship. And the white knight kind of mentality of doing it. And they want to do it through this framework or through this way that has been sold to them as some type of, concept.
Yeah.
And it's completely, utterly wrong. I mean, they probably got it from, they're socially conditioned in some way, shape, or form to believe, this is the right way. It has to be done this way. Really, it's completely
modern culture,
wrong.
Yeah. The media.
So,
shit,
I mean, I think most of the time when guys are winding up in the friend zone, it's because they're not communicating their desire. All right, so usually if you had chemistry, the reason why they're in the friend zone, the reason why they thought they had a chance with this girl in the first place is because at the beginning when they first met, there was a bit of a click there. Things were going good. She was like, "Oh, this guy's funny. This guy's cool." There was the potential of a relationship there, but the guy felt like showing desire was bad. Like if he really likes her. If I really like a girl, I'm going to pretend I'm completely celibate, and I'm gonna keep this for Jesus or something like that.
Make a move.
And he's denying that he's into her. He's scared to express his desire. Time passes. The chemistry kind of like fizzles a little bit, and you start falling in the friend zone. And finally, he's like, "Oh, I'm really into you," but it's too late, and because he held back that desire, and now she sees him as a friend. She sees him as a guy who is not masculine, who doesn't have a confident sexuality, right? Because here's this guy that she had chemistry with, and then he didn't make a move. I guess he's not my type, or something like that. And so the bad news is it's really hard to get out of the friend zone when you're in it. Good news is you can avoid getting into it if you show that you're interested in a woman in the right way. In the right way, without throwing your power away, without coming across really needy. You do it early on before you fall into that friend zone. And if you're confident and assertive about communicating when you're interested in a woman, you're gonna find that doesn't happen anymore if you're one of these guys who gets into that situation.
Yeah.
And it comes from sexual shame. It comes from sexual shame, right? You're ashamed of your own sexuality. You're ashamed of the fact that you find this woman attractive, even though she probably finds you attractive back.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of blocks and filters that need to be probably changed and removed, and you need to go through probably a process, whether it be synthetic or natural, to get to the point where he can become that, attractive, powerful guy that is able to, convey desire and trust.
Here's a good question. I don't want to interrupt you if you got. I was going to change the subject.
I was just going to add to that. If you do get into the friend zone, the only way that I've seen to get out of the friend zone is like radiation, time, distance, and shielding.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's the same thing I always tell guys. You want to get out of the friend zone? Don't talk to her for 6 months.
Yeah, you gotta
move out. Pretty much it. Like you gotta change her opinion of you.
Mm-hmm. All right. The question I was going to ask.
Yeah, we're gonna ask.
Was, can you be an attractive man and not be like what are the mind states that prevent you from being an attractive man? Can you be ashamed of your masculinity, for example, and be a guy who women find attractive?
There's I break it into different categories. Like that would be classified as a beta male, like a guy who's kind of beta.
Okay.
And in some situations, that works.
Okay, so we're talking. Are we going to talk about alpha, beta, all this kind of stuff? Because I kind of agree with that way of looking at things, but I also don't. And basically, 90% of the times people are talking about like alpha male, beta male, I'm like, facepalm. I can't believe I was involved in spreading this theory around the internet.
Yeah. I understand that, but if you were to say, can that exist? Can you have attraction without being masculine? In a small percentage of situations, yes. I believe that can occur. But in probably 90% of situations, most of the time, no, it won't happen. It's not right. It won't enable attraction to occur properly.
Yeah,
it's like the cuttlefish that camouflages itself as another female cuttlefish and sneaks in under the dominant male and snakes the girl away without him even knowing that he's there.
Yeah.
Beta male success, right there. It exists in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm bringing it back, Chris. I'm bringing the beta back.
You bring the beta
bring
back.
the beta back.
We'll make a product on like beta male game. Like here's how to.
Don't talk too loud.
You'll never know that you're actually a heterosexual if you follow our techniques.
Yeah. Remember to always slouch. Don't be aggressive.
Pity. Make her pity you a whole bunch. Like, oh my god, my cat just died.
Have you cried yet today?
My cat.
Make sure.
Can you just keep me warm? That's contemptible.
Yeah.
I really.
See, it's working. I'm already getting attracted to you guys right now.
All right.
We're doing it.
Pity game. I want women. I wish we. I hope we have some female viewers.
I hope.
And I want to ask them like, have you ever slept with a guy out of pity? If you were doing pity game, how would you do it? Don't do it.
I feel like I've probably experienced that. I'm trying to think back.
You've slept with somebody out of pity?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's put it on the internet forever.
Yeah, I can't think of. We're just not going to talk about that. Brush that out of the table. I did have a good question though, but this relates to our last point. But I still think it's relevant. Do you guys think that like now with sort of the advent and culture of like more of this white knight, more of this PC kind of stuff, do you think there was issues of like friend zoning thing as much if you go back to like 1950s, 1960s, more of a macho kind of aspect of men? Do you think there was as many issues with those sort of problems when it wasn't as risky to have that more dominant kind of aggressive kind of approach to talking to women, or certainly expressing your interest in them?
Well, I think it's going to come full circle eventually. It's going to get to a tipping point where women are they don't want these male feminists getting around and
That's what I hope.
Necessarily,
they hate them.
It doesn't work. I mean, I do it as a joke. I'll tell girls that I'm a male feminist. I'll say, yeah.
You have to.
I go to the rallies.
Yeah.
White knight, the whole thing. It works well, but I'm conveying a level of masculinity.
They're in on the joke. They know that you're kidding, right?
Yeah. Simply being facetious about it means that you're not. Yeah. So yeah.
It's a joke, but it works quite well because they get it. They understand that it's people get upset and they want to express themselves, and it's a free world.
Although I imagine it started with good intentions, it's reached a level of absurdity now that it almost is like it's almost like it's aware of its own absurdity to a certain extent, which is. But
no, that's
strange.
The thing. That's the thing. It's not aware.
Yeah.
It's people who are saying stuff that like literally would have been like an Onion article 8 years ago, and now it's being asserted by like university professors who are in charge of your. In charge of like
higher education in
charge of
workforce.
hiring and in charge of whether like people get promotions and stuff like that. I mean, it's and in charge of whether students' livelihoods. So it's actually like really crazy, insane.
So I'm glad I can go to places like Australia where it's it's just old fashioned. You just go and have a couple glasses of goon with the boys and getting a couple fist fights.
Nothing like just drinking white wine and hanging around in your flip-flops and Speedos in Australia like a real heterosexual man.
That's right.
That's right. And now we jump on crocodiles.
Yeah. It's the new craze. I expect next time I talk to you, Hayden, to have a couple stories of trying to impress women by jumping on crocs. It's gonna sweep Australia, I think.
We gotta do definitely. We need to learn. You need to teach us like Aussie doing ridiculous things game. Like lighting yourself on fire game. Because it's always Australians who do this.
I got a few ideas. What we can do to that, and we should even do it in Vegas actually.
Okay, hey, what's the stupidest thing you've ever done to impress a woman that worked?
I ran across the top of a train.
You ran across the top of a train, like as it was moving.
Yeah.
All right.
That's pretty good.
That works out pretty good. I'm trying to think. I don't know
when I did. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of things. Me and you would always do dumb things. We broke into an abandoned house in San Francisco that one time.
Yeah.
We did that.
That was kind of dumb, yeah.
We climbed a tree and then went in through like the second story.
That was pretty cool. It was under construction and stuff like that, and had like the scaffolding all around it. So I was just like, I can climb this thing, man. And we just climbed in, went inside the building and stuff. That was pretty good. I mean, I don't think I have any like really.
We basically just learned to surf in
things.
Australia just so we could pick up chicks. I mean, that was not really that crazy, but a lot of things.
Yeah, that's the go-to. That's the go-to here. Go surfing.
Yeah.
First date surfing.
So, anyway, JC, thank you so much for making it out tonight. I know you've got a hurricane going on back in Queensland, so we're going to let you go, and then we're just going to do some live Q&A with our audience here, okay?
No worries.
All right, man. Take
All right,
care.
JC.
And
Look
guys,
in the shacks, mate.
All right, guys,
Awesome.
if you have any questions, just start asking the questions on the Google Hangouts or on YouTube Live, and we're going to be doing Q&A just starting in a few minutes. Whoa, what's up, fellas? So now we're up. We're going to do the Q&A. Thank you so much to JC for coming out. And we've got some pretty good questions.
There are some good questions. I'm excited to answer them.
From the live stream here. Sorry, we just changed really quickly. It was what's going on there. A little bit of a transition there. So I got a question from, just so you guys know, that actually interview was pre-recorded. That's why we immediately changed hair mysteriously.
Yes.
So we got some questions here though. We got one of the questions was how much trust. How do you convey desire without being needy? That was a question that one of the guys had there, and that's a really good one.
I don't think desire is inherently needy. I don't think that. No. I think that's the problem with that question and what a lot of the attitude guys have about this stuff, because they think that if they let a girl know that they like them, that they're somehow losing some sort of value there. And that's not true at all. If you're conveying that you need them, well, then that's different, right? And if there's no sort of basis as to why you would need them other than the fact that they're pretty, then yeah, you're going to lose value. Why does he need me? All that really communicates is that he doesn't have anything going on in his life. Yeah. Different story if you guys have been seeing each other for a long time, and that's a whole different question. But I think that's the real question that's being asked there. And I don't know if you have anything to add to that in terms of...
I have a good analogy that illustrates the difference between being needy and showing desire. Needy is when you're... Okay, desire is when you've just eaten a really great meal and your waiter brings an amazing sundae onto the table. And you're like, damn, that's good. All right, and needy is when you're starving and somebody has like an overcooked, piece of lunch meat, and you're like, "Whoa, I need that."
That looks good.
So they're like kind of superficially similar, but desire is coming from a place of abundance. You can have desire without having that neediness. It's the lack of weakness there.
Yeah.
And it's the idea that you're not, you don't need it. You're not making up for something that you're lacking. It's simply I'm happy with how things are, but I think you're awesome.
You want the dessert because it tastes great and it's something you would love to enjoy, and you will enjoy it, but you don't need it. It's not going to ruin your life if you don't get that, and you're totally cool if they have none left, they're out of stock. I think that's a good analogy, and I think it illustrates it.
So another question was, how do you demonstrate trust? How do you build that trust? What are some
Yeah, I mean, the way that I usually do it, it's hard when you first meet someone because they don't really know each other yet. So I think a good way in order to establish trust that I use a lot is humor, in the sense that I find ways in which we can sort of have inside jokes very quickly. Mm-hmm. So I sort of gauge her humor and how she likes to use humor in terms of like sarcasm, or if it's maybe she's a bit more facetious, or she's more tongue-in-cheek, or she's more aggressive with her humor, teasing and whatnot. And then I try to make it so I'm on her side with that, and we can do it together. And that's going to establish a bit of trust, because she's like, oh, okay, this guy gets it, right? He's on my side. That's good for when you first start. Other ways, trust is that, hear what she's saying, or hear what she's communicating, not what she's saying. So things like, if you're maybe touching her a lot, and...
Just going to see if there's anybody who wants to do a voice or video call.
Okay.
There,
You're touching her a lot, whatever. Normally, I don't like saying this because guys misinterpret this too, but if she's maybe sub-communicating that she's not totally comfortable with that, maybe her friends are around, you can sort of pick up on that without her having to spell it out. that's going to build some trust, you know? So it's basically having a line of communication that goes beyond what's spoken. That's going to establish trust too. Sometimes this can be difficult, and a lot of this stuff you get with experience.
Another thing is trust is one of those reasons. That's one of the reasons why women give you a hard time. It's because they don't trust you.
Yeah.
So you know, she goes, "Oh, what do you do?" And you answer the question, and she's like, "No, you're not."
Yeah.
And part of that is there's a lack of trust there. She's testing to see if you really are the kind of guy that you pretend to be, and she's going to look for the subtle cues. So she's going to look for, you know, if he's acting confident, when I give him a hard time, does he still act confident? You know,
or does he challenge it? Like,
does he
challenge it? Defensive?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you respond the wrong way, she loses interest in you. There's no trust there. If you respond properly, then it works. Then she's like, okay, this guy is the real deal. But that's a lot of the stuff that guys interpret as women being mean or bratty or entitled is actually them testing to see if you really are who you say you are. It is still annoying sometimes, but that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Let me just see. Let's just see if do we have anybody asking who wants to ask a question via voice here? Sarah? Any voice questions?
I haven't had anyone ask yet.
We don't have any inbound callers. Guys, this is a live call-in show, so you can call in and ask your question via Google Hangouts.
It's this new internet culture. They don't want to actually talk. I don't even know how.
They're shy.
They're very shy.
They're shy. You got to work on your approach anxiety. You got to take the initiative. You gotta move. I want this to be. Have you ever watched the TV show Let's Mix Drinks, Exercise, and Paint?
The guy on the exercise bike.
Yeah, there's this guy. Yeah. There's an LA cable access show, and I think it's been canceled for ages. I only ever watched it on YouTube, where this guy would just take phone calls while exercising, and he would always be doing something else. He'd be on a treadmill and like painting and taking calls, and people would always call up with like really stupid stuff.
99% of those guys just
swearing at him.
He's like, oh, okay, that's enough of that. All right. And just hang up.
So that's what I want this live stream to be like.
So
all right. So we got some more questions here. Let's see. Okay. So we got Alex is saying, if you approach a hot woman, you need to stand out from a ton of guys that approach her every day. Assuming you're an average-looking guy, how would you do that?
See, guys overthink this too. They think, oh, I'm going to stand out. I'm going to say this really super clever line, you know. And you see those videos on YouTube where they have these really, crazy ways in which they can find an excuse to talk to a girl and all this sort of stuff. You don't need any of that. You want to stand out? Just be totally honest. One of the things I always ask guys is I say, why do you want to talk to her? And he says, oh my God, she's gorgeous. Go and tell her that, you know? I mean, there's certain things you don't want to actually go and tell a woman, like in the daytime especially. And this is the thing that a lot of guys say is, like, well, I want to fuck her. You know, well, don't go up and tell her that, obviously. Then you got to peel back a little bit. Well, why do you want to fuck her? Well, it's because she's really pretty. All right, there we got something there, you know, and get it to a point where it becomes something that you can actually say to her, and you can open with that as long as you're confident. So I always say it's like confident honesty, right? Which is say what you mean, but say it confidently, right? So don't just say it as if you're sheepish and nervous, and a little bit of that is okay, especially if it's like in the daytime or an environment where she's not expected to be spoken to, but above all else, there needs to be a sincerity to it. And this has to do with a little bit what we said earlier when it has to do with guys putting on this bravado, putting on this cockiness, and then women will challenge that because they don't trust you now. Why is this guy so cocky? There's something else that's being communicated here, and I think it's actually that he's insecure. But anyway.
All right, we've got a question on Google Hangouts from John.
Yeah.
John, you are unmuted. Do you have a question? False alarm. Maybe I muted him. Hello, John? Huh?
Well, it didn't work.
One of these days.
One of these days we'll get someone calling. We had a few guys call in. It's happened once or twice at least.
Nice. His microphone is not working.
Bullshit.
We got that problem. All right.
I don't believe you.
You're ruining our live stream. All right. So one guy saying is.
Some guy's talking. Hello.
No, that's me.
Yeah, that was me. It was Chuck.
Chuck! Hey, Chuck is here. You can just go on this Google Hangouts and you can basically be on our show.
Yeah.
What's up, Chuck? Do you have any questions or comments?
How much, guys? Yeah, sure. I'll think of something. How about how do you build attraction when you're being ghosted?
Being what?
Being ghosted. So she's like not responding to your texts or anything?
Yeah, so it was like texting back and forth, and then like a few days ago it just kind of stopped. And so send one and then
So for just a few days ago.
then, well, 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, because a few days is not a big deal. Like the first thing you do is by not overreacting, right? It's by and usually if a woman's not replying back to me, the first thing I'm going to do is just send her maybe something like, "Oh, you missed a cool time on Thursday night," or something like that. But not like it's a big deal. No bitterness, because that just causes everything to go cold immediately. It's just
Right.
you just start with, "Oh man, you should have come to the thing that I invited you to." Or I also do the fake Canadian apology where I go, "Oh, hey, sorry, I've been super busy the past little while. I didn't get back to you." So you got to understand, like, a lot of women, they think you are, they expect you to do all the work, and they think that, like, you're, they don't think it's weird that you contacted him 3 times and they're not getting back, and they're like, "Oh, where did he go? Why was he being so impatient?" And it's silly, but this is the way women think sometimes. So you say, "Oh, sorry, I was busy," and you just act like you're cool, you'd like to hang out with her, but there's no neediness to it, right? You don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets to a point where she's really not even responding to anything, I'll usually just send almost like, we call them just like burning numbers down. But you just send completely ridiculous messages, and sometimes I'd send ones that were like made it seem like it was sending to all my contacts.
I hear typing in the background. Are you sending these messages right now?
He's writing down what he's actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll send a message making it seem like it's sent to everyone and say something like, "Just want to thank everyone for coming to my movie premiere the other night. Never thought I'd make it as a porno actor, but you guys I really appreciate you guys being there." And then, she's probably going to respond back like, "What the fuck?" or something. And you're like, "Sorry, I didn't mean to send that to you," or something. But nice to see you. Nice to talk to you. How are you doing? So stuff like that can like get a response sometimes.
I don't even question that you actually did that.
Oh, of course I don't.
You totally, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that.
And I think the other one, I might have actually mentioned this one already on another live stream I've done. The other one I said was, "Oh man, I saw a dog today. It was hacking on the street, and I went to go help it because it seemed like it was choking, and then it puked up a fully formed rose, and it reminded me of you." That's it. And then when she doesn't respond, you say the dog died, by the way. So it's mostly just fucking with people for not responding to your texts. And sometimes if they have good sense of humor, that turns things around.
Sarah, are you there? Can you turn on your mic, Sarah?
Yep.
Would those lines work on you?
I would definitely laugh.
We're giving great advice.
We're
here,
halfway
aren't we?
there.
Derek's giving great advice.
Well, I'd answer if it's funny, because the only thing that I wouldn't answer for is a "Hey, what's up?"
Hey, what's up? You can't use that, right?
How's your day? What do you do for work? Boring.
Boring.
I send those texts to Sarah like 5 times a day.
Sexually harassing her.
What's up, Sarah? What's up? What are you doing? Fuck, Derek.
All right. We got. So one guy says. So do you think David D's cocky comedy works or not?
I'm not familiar.
I'm not familiar with that one, but
I know
David
D'Angelo. That was. I remember reading that.
He's one of the old.
Yeah, I remember reading that a while ago. I thought that was just sort of like a cocky funny or whatever. It's like doing self-deprecating humor or cocky humor and stuff like that. I mean, that's really vague advice. I mean, that's kind of like saying, how do you think that being really funny works? Well, it kind of depends. Depends how you do it. There's certain aspects of being using cocky comedy that would be communicate that you're insecure, or communicate that you're you're overdoing it a little bit. Try to make up for something else. And there's other ways you can do it that's a bit more subtle that would communicate you just don't give a shit and you're kind of a cool guy. So there's a big spectrum. So it would really depend on what exactly he's referring to, I guess. And I would assume it's good. He always, I think, gave pretty good.
Yeah, well, I definitely think if you're a shy guy, then yeah, cocky comedy, try and be funny and also very confident is the way to go. Being funny in a way that is that brings you up and is not self-deprecating so much. So I think that's a good strategy for a guy, especially a guy who's like working on his conversation, working on conversation with women who do give you a hard time, and you do blast through that by being funny and by not letting go of your frame.
Toronto is especially good for that.
Toronto is really good.
Toronto women are very crass. They're very sarcastic.
Yeah.
And they really appreciate a guy that can sort of take the punches and throw them back kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that works really well here. New York's kind of similar too. But like I've been to places like I don't know LA and stuff where it's just doesn't really work too well unless it's a certain type of girl.
They don't get the jokes.
No, Miami is the same idea.
Yeah, you do cocky comedy and they're like, what?
Yeah.
Is that a joke?
Yeah, they don't get it really. But certain things it works really well.
We're vastly.
Oh, of course. There's certain girls I'm sure that you would work great with. But
all right, guys. Thank you so much for showing up for the LS live stream. We're doing this every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can come in live and you can ask your questions. Please give us an upvote and subscribe. And if you'd like to get notified every single time we're running the show, turn on your notifications when you go into your subscription. So you just click there's a little like a bell thing next to the subscribe button. You click it, turn on the notifications, and then you're gonna get a notification via email every time we go live on this live stream, and every time we post new stuff to our YouTube channel, which is great.
Yeah. We also uploaded a video about Tinder openers today too. That if you haven't checked it out already, I would recommend going there and checking those out and liking that, commenting, subscribing.
And then the last thing is we've got the Love System Super Conferences coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys should totally check that out. Go to superconference.lovesystems.com or just go to lovesystems.com and see the big advertisement that we have there. But we have finally booked our venue in Las Vegas for the Love System Super Conference. This is going to be, it's our biggest event of the year. There's going to be probably about 100 guys meeting up at the Link Hotel in Las Vegas. And it's going to be like a Tony Robbins self-help seminar, like an awesome sort of transformative self-help weekend, and the coolest bachelor party you've ever been to going on at the same time, basically. It's The Hangover meets Tony Robbins. And this is going to be in August 24th to 26th, or 24th to 27th, and in Las Vegas. And we got a great deal on the hotel, so you can get the room really cheap, and it's going to be freaking spectacular. Sign up at lovesystems.com.
Yeah, it's like Tony Robbins with liquor and women. It's the best.
And DJs, we saw Calvin Harris last year. We had Skrillex playing at our boot camp venue last year. It was absolutely nuts, and we're going to be doing it again this August, so come out for that.
Balling his shit.
Anyway, guys, you guys have been fantastic. And we will see you next Monday and we'll tell you what our show is going to be on, because I'm not sure what the show is going to be.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.